here because everyone else earlier today was slow, not because of me. In fact, I got a lot of accolades earlier in photos, people saying, wow, you're incredibly fast, how efficient this is.
Yeah, it's usually when they say when you see an actor, they look up to. You're so efficient.
So anyway, this panel is going to be a little bit short, but I'm actually going to pack as much as I possibly can into 30 minutes instead of an hour. We're going to have to cut it short because of reasons.
Okay.
So I'm just going to speak more quickly than normal, and I think that'll solve the problem.
Okay.
And these guys are going to stick around.
No, we're not.
Yeah, you are.
But also, here's a little trivia I'll leave you with.
What?
Nashville, my hometown.
I'm sick to death of his bragging. That's, I think, the 7th time today he's told me that Nashville is his hometown.
Nashville's my hometown.
Nashville doesn't want you anymore, Rich.
Ouch.
I just had a flattering conversation backstage. Leah and Jackie, who work here on the conventions, they had a couple of drinks on the flight here, and they hatched a business plan. And the business plan is to start a cult. And at one point during the conversation, they said to one another, oh, you know who we have to talk to? And then simultaneously, they said, Misha. Isn't that flattering? They want to use their cult for good, so I'm trying to steer them away from that. But I think that the idea certainly holds promise, for sure. How's everybody doing? Oh my goodness, there's so many of you here. What are you all doing here? You know, a year ago, or 2 years ago, whatever it was that we were first back after the pandemic, it made sense that people were still here because there had been a pandemic, their tickets had been canceled, they pushed forward a year. But you do realize our show was like over 3 years ago, right? What are you still doing here? Well, we love you too, and we're very, very glad to be back here, and so honored and flattered and a little bit confused to see you here. I'm going to, in the interest of expediency, I'm going to let you ask some questions, because I know that we have to get through all these questions in just half an hour.
Hi, my name's Sarah.
Oh, no names, we don't have time for that. Am I planning on writing another book? Well, something weird happened to me, which is I was talking to somebody who was recommending, sort of like a mentor of mine, and he said, you know what you should do? You should just follow whims for a little while, and just like, if an idea occurs to you, just follow it and see what happens. And I've never really written short stories that weren't pornographic. And so I just started writing a short story told from like the perspective of a 14-year-old girl whose dad is a kind of like a doomsdayer and takes them off the grid and thinks the world is going to end in fiery hell because of AI, which I think is really just an expression of my own psyche. And I thought I was writing a short story, but now it's like, it's not short. It's like forever. It's really long. I think they call that a novel. So, I don't know. I've written something that's very long. It's bad. But who cares, right? So, yeah, I don't know, maybe is the answer to that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. I'm the guy who picked and I have no idea what to say.
Oh, but you did get picked.
I did.
And then we were standing in line for at least 10 minutes.
No, I literally just came up here and said I have no idea what to say.
Well, and you, woman with a microphone, couldn't help at all?
I don't know.
No. They don't. Creation Entertainment has a disclaimer. We do not furnish questions for you.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know.
That's great. They move a question, they have a compliment. And that's totally fine. Okay.
Do you have any future projects? She just told me.
Oh, that was great. So Misha does furnish questions. Do I have any future projects? Well, you know the strike, Screen Actors Guild, and strike ended. So now I can say supernatural, supernatural, supernatural as many times as I want. We had this awkward little interstitial period when we were doing conventions during the strike where we were not supposed to say supernatural because that was a violation. Even speaking about struck work, when that's any project that is a property of one of the studios that was being struck, we would be in violation of union rules, essentially crossing the picket line by saying supernatural. And we tried to be quite fastidious about following those guidelines for about 3 months, and then after that we were like, fuck it, supernatural. Our union resolve, I think, dissolved after a little while. So the strike essentially ended a month ago, and of course there's like a backlog of stuff that builds up during that. I think we had almost 6 months of work stoppage. So as soon as the strike ended, nobody called or texted. I still haven't heard from my agent or manager, not even a text like, hey, good news, strike's over. I think they may not even be working in the industry anymore. I don't know. So as far as future projects are concerned, my daughter is teaching me to crochet. Oh God, we have so much in common. That's so exciting. Well, maybe we could get together for like a FaceTime crochet session sometime. That would be so great. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's totally get together and do that, which is, by the way, what my agent always says to me, like, when we happen to bump into each other. We should totally get lunch. I think it doesn't happen, ever. I'm not saying that we're like that, though. No.
I hope not.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Nice talking to you. But you don't know how to crochet? Okay, yeah, that's how I do. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I think everybody fell in love with your character over the years and how it developed. Is there anything you would have changed if you were in the writing room in regard to Cass's story arc?
Well, when you said how my character developed, for some reason, my brain immediately went to Cass developing breasts. And one of the arcs that we never really followed through on was trans Cass. And I think that could have been an interesting aspect of the character to explore. We had like crazy Cass, we had human Cass, we had Lucifer Cass, we had Nazi Cass, but we never had trans Cass. And I feel like that was an oversight, so that could have been good. I actually, what was your question?
If you were in the writing room for Supernatural, is there any part of Cass's story that you may have changed?
Where to start? I would have loved to have had Castiel show up in the final episode of the series. Just for a little mic drop moment, It doesn't. He didn't have to take over the whole thing. Just a little like, boom, suck your bitches, and then. I always thought it would have been nice to have Cass's human arc explored for longer, because I really thought that was interesting and kind of fun. Like, there was more to mine there, and I think we kind of moved on to other projects too quickly. And that's it. Oh, I was always pissed that Cass wasn't in the musical episode. Yeah. But that's just a gripe, really. It was a good episode. Hi.
Hi, Misha. I love you. Oh my god. Before the photo op that I just had, I got to be a pic for you, and you're the first person that has ever made me cry after the photo.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did I do?
So amazing. This is my dream come true.
Okay, good. As long as it wasn't like a cop to field or something weird.
Well, you're very sweet. I just read something which was kind of interesting. It said psychologists have just determined that if you compliment someone, they immediately like you. It's like a defect in human personalities that we immediately fall for. If someone says something nice to you, you're like, I don't know what it is. There's something about that person that I like. And that's how I feel about you right now. Love you.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. My question was, I know on the Supernatural set there were many bloopers, there's some bloopers that you can have. So if you had to choose one that you could just not get over that happened on the set, what would you say?
Well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by could not get over, like something that was permanently scarring. Because there are a lot. There are sometimes I wake up still, the sheets wet with sweat, thinking about being on set with Jared.
I would also be like,
There was this one, I've talked about it before, but that doesn't stop me from talking about it again. It was this one episode, can't remember what it was called, where Cass and Sam go into this sort of like Stepford Wives town together doing a little investigation. What was it called?
Oh, nobody knows! I love it, a room full of non-fan fans.
So, what? Peace of mind? Peace of mind. You were Googling that, weren't you? Oh, sure, okay, good. You're not Googling, that's just the home screen. There's this one scene where I guess, like, I don't even remember it clearly, but Sam is possessed or something, and he tackles Cass onto the floor. And we're in a diner, and then he has Cass pinned down and is like, trying to strangle him or something, I don't know. And that scene took like 2 extra hours to film. Because every time Sam would pin Cass, Jared would be on top of me, pinning me down, saying the most vile, lascivious, threatening with sexual innuendo things. Yeah, you like it, don't you? And Phil Sabrisha, who's our producer-director, he told the cameras, keep rolling. Because Phil was also the guy that got together the blooper reel every year. And Phil was seeing pure gold. Because it was one of those situations where the camera, when we were doing handheld, usually any kind of like action scene with a tackle or something is handheld camera. But when you're shooting handheld, the problem is when the camera operator starts to laugh a lot, even it shakes. So the camera operators were laughing hysterically. It was really funny material. And then the blooper reel came out at the end of the year, and nothing from that scene was in it. Was it? That when I say nothing from that scene, I mean none of the gold. Anyway, so I said, Phil, what happened? Like, there was so much great material there. And he said, yeah, I watched it again when we got back into post-production, and I made sure that all the copies were deleted. He was like, I think that could have canceled everybody involved in the show. Good times. Thanks.
I would take that.
Hi.
Hi, Misha. So my question is, if you got the opportunity to pull like a Freaky Friday with anyone in the cast or the band and essentially switch brains with them for a day, who would it be and what would you like to accomplish as that person?
Who would I like to switch brains with? I mean, I immediately think none of those people. Probably Felicia Day. Her brain works at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and she's just a creative force, and I'd love to see what's going on in there. Did you know that Felicia Day was like the youngest member of Philharmonic Orchestra in U.S. history or something like that? But I think she was 15 years old, and she was in a professional Philharmonic. Is that true, what I just said? A lot of people shaking their heads. They're not doing it. Just lie again. Yeah, she's pretty extraordinary, so I'd like to see what that's like.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, Misha. You and Jensen were featured in The Last of Us as an Easter egg. So my question for you is, if you got to choose another video game to be featured in, what would it be?
Probably Miss Pac-Man.
I think you make an excellent as Pac-Man.
By the way, wouldn't that be great to have that happen? Little like cast ghosts or something? That'd be fantastic. I just got an email from the United 24 organization in Ukraine, which is the organization that I've been helping raise money for demining. And Minecraft is working with them to create some characters. And they asked, would it be okay to create a character based on you somehow? And I was like, yes. And my kids are totally like obsessed with Minecraft. So I immediately told them, and they said I was lying. So frustrating. Hi.
Hi, Misha.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, thanks.
Good. So about a decade ago, for like an extra on season 10 or season 9 DVD, you all made a mockumentary of yourselves where you played like extremely satirized versions. You took characteristics of yourselves and really amplified them. If you were to do that again, would you like play the same characteristics, or would you do something different?
I think that for those of you who don't know, it was relatively early on in my tenure on Supernatural. I think it must have been season 9 or 10. Yep, that was. And I had this idea of doing a mockumentary, behind-the-scenes documentary kind of what life on set was actually like. And I ran it by the producers, and they were like, well, that's a great idea. And then Warner Brothers said, that's a great idea. And I said, well, great, how can you help us? And they said, well, we'll put it on the DVD as a special extras or whatever. And I said, great, well, how do we do this? Like, I don't even know how to put a crew together for that. And they were like, you don't need a crew, there's a crew there on Supernatural, you can use the crew. And I was like, oh, awesome. So we're like, what kind of budget do I have? Like, you don't need a budget. You've got the crew there. You're fine. So I was then tasked with shooting this mockumentary where I had to get the crew to voluntarily come shoot scenes with me during their like 5-minute breaks during a lighting setup or something like that. And they were all like, no, dude, I gotta call my kids. And I had to negotiate with everyone, including Jared and Jensen, because Jared and Jensen would be like, no man, it's my lunch break, or I was gonna hit the gym. And I was like, but I just finally assembled 15 crew members to help shoot this fucking scene. And now you gotta go work out in the gym? It was absolutely maddening, and incredibly hard to do. And then the first AD who was in charge of keeping Supernatural going is the instant we got half a take done, he would come in, start clapping his hands, and be like, okay, good, we got it, everybody back to set. And so we always had one take of everything. It was a real fiasco. But we sort of brainstormed in the hair and makeup trailer a couple of mornings and came up with ideas of like, versions of our characters to heighten or exaggerate and satirize. And it was pretty clear what each of our characters is going to be, which I think is a good indication that we all actually know each other very well, and all are rife with really deep character flaws. And it came across quite nicely. So I'm not sure what I would change. I feel like Jensen's character we could have fleshed out a little more. He was like the new age yoga guy who was pretending to be tough, which is of course Jensen to a T. But in fact, ironically, I mentioned that, I was in the gym at our hotel this morning, and I just finished a workout, feeling like ripped, buff. And Jensen, covered in sweat, and other women in the gym fawning over me. And Jensen walks in, and I was like, oh, hey, you got a late start today? And he was like, yeah, I had don't have to go in for a little bit. And I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good gym. He's like, oh, I'm not here to work out. I'm just grabbing the water. I just got a facial. And that's it, to a T, you know? So I think we nailed Jensen in that, but we could have somehow, if we'd had more time, I think we would have been able to flesh that out a little bit more. I mean, if you think about it, in the French Mistake, they also satirized our characters, and they were all pretty similar to what we decided to do for ourselves. You know, Jared is vain. I'm incredibly neurotic and fragile ego. So that's to a T. Thank you.
Hello, Misha.
Hi.
My question is, as a fellow poet, I know this is a hard question, but in your book, what poem did you write that was your favorite, or that you, or like, what is your favorite fact?
Well, I have a few poems in there that are particularly emotionally impactful for me. They're about my kids. Probably it shows that I'm a little bit attached to them. There's two poems in there that are just like particularly poignant to me. One is where I relate a story of how my daughter said, "I wish for this," and that just pulled my heartstrings. And the other poem is the last poem in the book, which is aptly titled "The Last Poem," and that's about savoring the moments with children in particular, in life in general, because you never know when a given experience is going to be the last iteration of this experience. For all I know, this is the last time I'll ever be up on stage at a convention. I hope not, but I could be hit by a bus tomorrow. And I think that like being cognizant of those moments and trying to remember that life's fleeting, and any given moment or any given experience could be a last is kind of key. You know, I think even in that poem I touch on, like when my daughter used to, crawl into bed with us, and then it invariably would also then pee on me. And I had this epiphany moment where I was like angrily getting up and so tired and so sick of it, and getting a towel to just like lay down on a wet sheet and start over again. And I had this moment of realizing that, oh, well wait, what if that's the last time she pees in the bed? And then I'll miss it. Which is actually kind of true. There's all these little things, even the bittersweet moments in life, when you look back and realize that that was the last, which of course happens a lot in childhood. And you realize, oh, I forgot to appreciate that moment when it happened. So I think that moment for me is something that I reflect on from time to time in all sorts of good reminder of trying to stay awake and paying attention.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm just wondering if you have a favorite holiday tradition that is very comforting for you.
I do. I get kind of fired up about Thanksgiving. I love cooking, and I love cooking for groups of people. There's something about it that is very, just feels like home to me. And at Christmas, I like the traditional ritual, and there's one that my grandfather started this with us when we were little. Like, I remember I was probably 4 years old the first time I remember doing this little ritual, and it's very, very nostalgic for me, and I'm trying to pass it on to my kids, and I hope they can pass it on to their kids, which is, Santa comes down the chimney, and my grandfather, he comes down the chimney and he's carrying not only presents for you guys, but he also has all of the presents for all of the other children in the world. And so wouldn't it be wise for us to capture him? And so, in front of the fireplace, he would set out a bear trap, open with milk and cookies sitting in the center of the bear trap. And this is no joke, but Christmas morning, me and my brother would run downstairs being like, I hope we caught Santa this time. And invariably, the claws would be, and it was a real bear trap, by the way, the claws would be snapped shut, and there would be a piece of red fabric. Damn. And the milk and cookies were also always gone. Like, he always got the milk and cookies, and we only got a little shred of his pant leg. But that's a sweet tradition. Thank you. Hi. I have a Christmas story. Do you mind if I tell it? Okay. So my daughter and son, a couple of years ago, I decided that I was sick of the Christmas tradition as it stood, and all of the like consumerism and how we just like buy a ton of presents, and I see the kids. We usually have Christmas with like 15 people, extended family, and all the kids just like rip everything open. And then they don't even like take time to appreciate the things they get. They get way too many things. They already have everything that they really need. And it's just this kind of like gross consumerist experience. And I said, what if we just give something to another family that actually needs stuff? Our Christmas could be getting gifts for someone else who is actually in a needy situation, and we could just feel the goodness of giving instead of doing this like greedy take thing. And my son said, yeah, Dad, that sounds great, because on Christmas, I'm always so excited that I can barely sleep. And then after we open the presents, I actually feel kind of gross and empty. And I was like, yes, you get it. My daughter was on board. We found 2 families to get presents for. They had a huge list of things to get. It ended up taking us like an entire day just to wrap the presents. But then the kids ended up getting to bring the presents to this family and get to see their appreciation. And they came back just glowing. It was so sweet. This was Christmas Eve. And I said, kids, isn't that so nice? Doesn't that feel like actually the spirit of Christmas? And my daughter said, yeah. And besides, we're still going to get presents from Santa. Which was a little oversight on my part. I've never felt so panicked in my life. It's Christmas Eve. Sorry, anyway, traumatic experience for me. Sorry. I actually was afraid that this would happen, but I was sweating so much I didn't know what to do, and I was like, they're gonna do cat calls, it's gonna suck, but I'm so hot right now, I don't know what to do. Sweat stains. Leave me alone. Okay, yes, throw me a lifeline.
Hi, Misha. I'm
Hi.
Summer. I just want to say that over the years of knowing you, you've sort of been like a parental father figure in my life, and I feel like I've adopted a lot of traits from you that have helped me, and specifically your
And some that have caused severe damage, for
I
sure.
wasn't going to bring it up since you did. So thank you, and
Well, that is very flattering, thank you.
and I was wondering, what trait of yours do you hope that you can pass down to your kids?
Sometimes, so I have like a jokey banter with my kids, which sometimes can be a little acerbic, and I treat them kind of like they're adults in my interactions with them a lot of the time. And that like dry, a little bit cutting humor, they will take and turn back to me and be like, I'll say some little, like slightly sarcastic, maybe slightly undercutting joke, and then they'll later say something like, Dad, you're so fat and old. And it's not quite on point with the nuance, but I realize they're kind of getting it wrong, and they're kind of getting it from me. So I've been trying to tone that down in my interactions with them, and thinking about how to model good behavior that I actually want to see emulated in them. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I try to be nice to people, and sometimes I see my kids trying to be nice to people, and I like to give myself a little bit of credit for that. We were driving somewhere on Thanksgiving last year, and saw this guy. There were a bunch of kids in the car, and saw this guy on the side of the road who was clearly homeless. And it was like Thanksgiving evening, and he was on this like country road off by himself on the other side of the guardrail. And I stopped and I was like, "Hey, do you have anywhere to go for Thanksgiving? Do you have any food for Thanksgiving dinner?" And he was like, "No, I've been walking for a long time and I don't have any food." So that we went to the house where we were having Thanksgiving with friends, and I put together a plate, and I was like, "I want to go bring this back to that guy up there." And one of the kids that we were with was like, "Wait, you're going to go back there?" And my son was like, "Dad's always doing stuff like that." It was like a very sweet little like early tween moment where he's like, "Dad's so annoying when he's nice to people like that." But it's a funny thing having kids. Like they're their own beings. There's this Indian. Like East Indian philosophy, which is that you don't actually cultivate children to be what you want them to be. You just water and nurture them to grow into what they're meant to be. And you just provide the nice, protective environment for them to flourish in, and you allow their true essence to express. And I love to think about my kids that way. Like they're their own people, and I'm not going to control who they turn into. I'm just going to try to create an environment that is healthy for growth. So that's what I think about mostly with kids, rather than trying to make them take on my traits, which are mostly defective and
It helps me, along the line. So, thank you.
thanks, kid.
This question is from my wife. Although I'm a big fan, I love you, what you represent as a person. The question is, if you, Jared, and Jensen was the last 3 people on Earth, and you had to live with one forever, who would you choose?
Well, is by myself an option? I think that I would probably survive longest on my own. No, I think, no, I don't need to be diplomatic. I think the answer is definitely Jensen. I would choose Jensen. Jensen is like, in the green, I'll tell you why I would pick Jensen. Jared would come onto set, and sometimes there would be like a sconce, like a lighting element on the side of the set, and he would be like, jiggle it, oh, it's loose, I'll just rip it off and throw it. Kind of like a puppy that sees everything in the world as a chew toy. That's Jared. Jensen will go into the green room at the convention and see that like people have left lunch plates out that are finished, and he'll come in and like clean them up, wipe the table, put everything in the trash. That's Jensen. I want to be stuck on a desert island with someone who's going to do the dishes. And we will have dishes, right? Because you said it's just 3 people, but presumably that means that all the other people have left behind all the dishes. So we have as many dishes that, well, you do make the rules. You literally just lay down the rules. Okay, well anyway, I made my choice. Thank you.
We're going to take one more question real quick before you sign you off and be done. Are you emotionally spent?
Well, that's a question in and of itself, so then it's 2 more questions, isn't it?
You just wanted to show off that you've been working out. I get it. Yeah.
You've been working out too.
I've
undershirt. You're not wearing an undershirt.
Wouldn't you like to know? I'll blunt you with my red microphone.
Would you like to ask a question?
Yes. Oh, perfect. Okay, I think you're asking me.
My question is, are you going to continue cooking with us, or are you going to do serious food based one day?
Well, my kids have gotten old enough that they're now conscious of view counts on YouTube, and that makes it a dangerous space to play in. When they were young, and I could put up a video and just freely exploit my children without them realizing it. That was one thing. But now that they kind of are dialed in, I think that they would have to get to the point where they are consciously pursuing view counts and want to try to figure out how to monetize their father. Like if they reverse it and start exploiting me, then I'll be looking for it, but I'm going to try not to exploit them overtly in a way that they see. If that makes sense. Yeah. My Wes the other day was like, whatever happened about cooking fast and fresh? I was like, oh, you know, consciously do pounds. And he was like, well, can we shoot one now? And it was just him and me. So it's really hard to like film yourself while you're trying to cook. But we actually had the greatest time. He was laughing so hard he couldn't talk most of the time. And it was very sweet. And the kitchen was a total disaster like it used to be when we would shoot those episodes. And I realized, oh, that's another reason not to do this anymore. It's a fucking mess. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah,
All right, on that cliffhanger, ladies and gentlemen, Misha.